Hey, it is your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the empowered harmonizers. And before we get started, I just want to say we are getting really excited here at the channel. Warm weather is rapidly approaching, and we are going to be moving some of our sessions outside in the outdoors, hopefully with the same video quality so you can focus and pay attention and zoom in and focus in on the content, but we are going to be changing it up. So we are really excited to be doing that. And I want to give a huge shout out also to those of you who have recently donated to the channel. Thank you so much for stepping up to the plate and letting me know that this content is really hitting home, hitting your hardcore and really making sense, and you're able to identify some of the things that have gone on, oftentimes through some very confusing and bewildering situations and encounters that you have experienced in life that have caused a real wrench in the engine, a real curveball that's had your head spinning. So we want to stop the ruminations, and I want to zoom in and focus in on a great viewer question that had came up, and that was to better understand the pathology or the pathological lying that takes place within a malignant narcissist or a psychopathic relationship, where there's really kind of a false shell that you're interacting with, and it completely blows your mind when you find out that this person is doing nothing but mimicking or over exaggerating their emotions. In other words, how do you find a red flag? How do you understand this as you look back in your history with this person or other people? When you see and really kind of understand psychopathy, it's to understand that there is a faulty inactivity of the amygdala and the central nervous system. And the amygdala is that which is activated in fear, also very intense emotions. It sends messages down into your central nervous system, which runs basically down your spine and then out into your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous system. So it's a real important sort of part of the electricity of your being. And this individual now, they have someone who is truly psychopathic, has a real inactivity and a neurological issue that causes them to not feel emotions in the same way. They do not experience situations like love or fear or a startled response when they see something that is horrific or grotesque or that would normally be upsetting to people. So because of this, they understand that they are not, quote unquote, set back or held back. So they actually view this quality as a positive. In other words, they're thinking, hey, since I don't have this sentiment or this human bonding or this caring for others to really hold me back. In other words, they just have an emotional rush for power to dupe and deceive, and they don't feel bad. In other words, where guilt or feeling like this is the wrong thing to do, it would cause someone to stop and reflect or say no or not do something. It's just full throttle moving onward with these types of individuals. In other words, they pursue what they want with great vigor because they also have a sensitivity to the dopamine, which is the reward center when you get something that you want. In other words, it is the feel-good chemical. And so they are hypersensitive to the release of this. So it's kind of like, and also when they also are thought to have higher levels of testosterone, both men and female, that it gives them this sort of aggressiveness and, the ability to pursue things without remorse, without regret. And so the mimicking of behaviors is a learned response. It is a learned reaction. It's not a felt thing. It's not coming organically, internally. It is like a muscle memory, just like as if you were to, be at playing baseball and you were to be at home plate and, you're, cocking up to hit the ball. You have learned, how to hit the ball, hit it out of the park, or play hockey or anything else that you have taught yourself physically to do. So their emotions are very much learned like that. And so also with the emotions, so they will mimic emotions, and especially a red flag is when you see an over exaggerated, some people call it charm. It's different from passion. Passion is genuine. It comes from within. It's heartfelt. You own it. And no one has to teach you, in other words, what you care about. You can see, for example, if you see a cute little baby and you're like, oh my gosh, that baby's so cute, or whatever it is, look at that duck, you genuinely feel that. No one had to teach you that you are attracted to that. So it's very interesting to know that you are attracted. Oh my God, you guys are going to love this. I have something on my teeth. That we are attracted to specific things in life. And so this, though, is a learned response. It's a muscle memory. It's a mimicking that the psychopath learns to do. And this is truly kind of a crux, or one of the determining factors, even in the hair checklist, that this is, it's a real strong indicator that psychopathy is present. So when you see someone who is, over exaggerating the startle response. For example, if you were to be at a movie and, you're seeing an action scene and you're just kind of observing it, a psychopath who is just not really, they're not really feeling it, but they would have an overreaction. In other words, they'd over exaggerate the startle response to deceive and betray those people who they are with. In other words, to get attention. They are over exaggerating a fear response or a startle response. And I equate it very much to like the sitcom Kramer, Seinfeld. Do you remember when Kramer would, come into the door and he'd have like that hair that was like all over the place, and he'd like slide in on his shoes and he'd be like, Jerry, it's kind of like that same over exaggerated, but that guy was, he was so comical. And I'm not saying that he's psychopathic, but that's just kind of to give you an example of comparison that most people might be able to relate to, at least maybe in the United States. So when we think then about how to identify, is to see this and identify this perhaps in the past of your relationship, so you can understand that this is how they then engage in the pathology of lying to people and then just being able to switch it off. In other words, feel nothing and then go to another person. So it's just like switching, from a baseball bat to a hockey stick. They're in a whole nother game. They've got a whole nother set of rules that they're playing by. They have a whole nother persona. And then you're, not able to comprehend how and why someone can do this. Is because this is just how it's business as usual for these people. And so, you have to just say, okay, this was what it is, and I am no longer deceived by this. So it's a very feel-good feeling to know that you can identify this yourself and that you're keen and sharp and wise to this. So it is when they learn a mimic response to things. And this can be everything from holding hands to taking people out, to going on vacations. It is throughout their life. It's throughout their jobs. And so really, if this has gotten you feeling down, confused, stay active. Regain your confidence. Even though it has been shocking and stunned you and, altered how you feel about people, don't let that really negatively impact you to the point where you have lack of confidence and you're not able to move freely through your day. And of course, it's very much like a heart-wrenching moment, but when they're out, when that person is out of your life, the engine can run again. In other words, the wrench is gone. No one left a wrench in your engine. It's out of there. You're not gonna, hear some clicking and clanging in your engine anymore because they're gone. So it's free to move, and time will heal your wounds. And to realize that as much as you're thinking about them, they may or may not be obsessing. They might have just moved on. And, you have to live your life with clarity in feeling like I'm going to move on and understand that that's how this person is, and they are not ruminating about me. They don't have the heart to be able to do this. So it can help you to alleviate some of that fear and paranoia that oftentimes comes with emerging from this relationship. It is shocking. It's almost like a shocking being, and it can create the post-traumatic stress syndrome where you're really kind of fearful. And I'm sorry that you have had to go through this. For each person, it's different. And, how you can see how it's made an impact in your life is up to you. But if you felt that you have become hollowed out or it's really become unmanageable, we need to shake it off and say, okay, this was someone who had adulterated responses to things. They have adjusted to a humane society when they're not humane. So now, knowing yourself, you do not need to adapt to a relationship that at its core was sick or dysfunctional. So you can say and understand now that all the adaptation that you tried to do, you can now release that reaction and, begin to get some more traction and staying active in your life. In other words, going out and doing the things that you love to do. Help yourself to remember what it is that you love and that you're attracted to, things that really get your heart into motion. It makes your heart beat. It makes your passion surge up again. And to feel like maybe, there's no one who shares this humanity. And I know we're going a little bit long, but I would highly recommend, here I am in this neck collar, a wonderful book called The Alchemist. Really definitely read this, by Paulo Coelho. And I'll hold it up here. And it talks about the importance of having your own personal legacy. And I think if you he's written, this has just been like a bestseller. It's a beautiful book. It's kind of written a little bit like old-fashioned or, in very narrative storyteller ways, but I think it'll really help you to understand that you have a journey in life, and this is kind of the gift of human nature, is this journey. And once I really I can't recommend this book enough, because when we incorporate the content of that sense of personal mission that we describe here, I think it's so important that your life purpose also becomes like a life mission, that you eventually get to a little taste of your own life mission. But that's why I really hope that you guys are doing your appointment book and you are able to like jot down significant things that go through, or omens or signs or little things that come up, and that you have, a book that you are, making. You not only you've got positive things written, positive statements, but places for you to, write notes and things like this that you can keep with you. And it's just a really good, it's called Blush Dance, the monthly week planner. So, you can take your own personal notes, like little things that kind of spark up, little omens, things that you see, things that you feel, synchronicities that come and show you that you're on the right path, because success does leave clues. And that's why once you get some structure to your recovery and moving forward, you'll begin to see the progress. It'll become apparent to you. You'll see it, feel it, know it, and you'll begin to really enhance your life. And that's really the opportunity here. And I really want you to be able to take that opportunity and see how many choices, and have appreciative and gratitude for all the emotions that you have, that those people who have antisocial personality disorder, that they don't possess this in the same way. And so if you can kind of acknowledge how it's a little bit like there's an us and them, and, predatory and prey, there's kind of a very defining different stripe to these people. And so once you get this, you can say, okay, I'm glad, I'm right here on this side of the tracks. I'm here on this side of humanity. And I'm going to do that which restores humanity to me. Whatever that is, that gives you kind of that sense of personal mission back in your life, whether it's, volunteering at a school or being around children or people who are older, or just going out and doing something that reconnects you with nature. And then you talk with other people who have experienced, the same activities and interests as you. It'll give you the energy that you are looking for, the real energy, the core sort of, human nature that makes you feel like the world is okay again. And, do not fill yourself with all the negative media stories, all the horrific things that are, you see that can, that are going on, yes, you want to be informed, but do not fill yourself with that, because it'll create and resonate a tremendous amount of fear. And so it'll just add to a pessimism. And so really, it's so important in healing to get kind of a little bit of a rose-colored glass for yourself, where you are now beginning to see things in a more optimistic manner. And really, with faith and with guidance, you can do anything. And I'll say it again, with faith and with your kind of your spiritual guidance. In other words, working this a little bit, knowing that you have tools, knowing that you have higher level, higher consciousness tools that you can use and tap into. Things like the mindfulness, the meditation, taking the radical action, moving forward on your recovery date, taking care of your health, going and doing some activities. Things are bound to come together, and synchronicities are going to rise up to meet you, and the world will actually be conspiring for your wholeness. So that means completely distinct and separate from this harmful person, completely distinct and separate from this psychopath, completely, it makes you impervious to their presence, because chances are, they've just rode off into the distance, never to return. And here you're left feeling like your life is like a ghost town, feeling like, they've driven out the sheriff, the deputies, the storefront, the yarn house, whatever it is that you had there. You feel like they've just ramshackled you emotionally. And so, I would definitely recommend making note of it, getting some structure, and getting that optimism back, because that's really what they take away, is all those qualities that make you you, that make you human, humane, caring, that is indigenous to you. So remember that all these are there. Don't forget to be active. Don't be so afraid that you're just, stuck on a couch, on a bed, in a basement of your life. I mean, get out of that area and begin to just say, okay, I'm going to go for the bike ride, or I'm going to go for the walk, or I'm going to go for my fishing, or I'm going to learn how to crochet, or I'm going to learn how to sew, or I'm going to redo my living room, or rearrange my furniture, or get some new lighting. There are so many things that you can do on a daily basis. This is not like once a year I'm going to redo this. It really means on a consistent basis, putting a little bit of inspiration back into your life, getting rid of the clutter, putting in something positive, like a positive picture, a positive statement. You can make it yourself. You can paint it yourself. I have a wonderful life, and I have so much gratitude. You could stencil this out in paint. You could write this and put this on parchment paper and frame it and make like a little flower, and you can, make your own positive reinforcement for your home. You could make a bunch of these and give them to your true friends, your true family. You could create a business out of this. I mean, there are so many opportunities for you to be just as you are, as simple and magnificent and talented as you are. Just the idea of the caring and then taking the action will give you an outlet, and it will reconnect you. And people have all different levels of inspiration or things that they want to believe in or what they want for themselves. So if you're kind of sick and tired of that feeling of being gaslighted from the mimicking behaviors, really begin to distinguish yourself. Say, that individual is of a different stripe. I'm of a different spot, and we are completely two separate. And I am the one who has the emotions, the feeling, the caring, the affection, the humanity, the passion, the real thing, the real family, the real relationship, the trips together, the home. You know, that is you. Once you own that about yourself, you know, you might even, you know, really begin to cry, you know, really have an emotional release, and I don't want to say a breakdown, but a breakthrough, that you are the one who's always wanted this. And it seems like you don't know what you want because of all this time where you were made to feel disconnected. You know, it's really very, and I use the word lethal because it's so serious. The amount of personality or character that it can take out of you. And our viewers use it as terms like emotional vampire or different things like that. But, you know, realize that this can and will be restored, but you have to take action. You have to have faith. You have to keep your head up, and you have, oh, bear with me.